Hello, this is Katie and today is one of your essential techniques videos. So we are going to make these little ear wires. So they make that nice kind of hoop design, but they give us that ability to drop something off it. And I've added some sort of detail there just so it looks nice at the front there. So this is how they would look in a design. So I'm just midway through making these and I thought I would bring you the actual how to make the ear wire as well. So for these, I think I mean, everybody has their own opinions, but I think the ideal gauge wire for ear wires is a 0.9mm. So that is your 19 gauge in US terms. So you can use a 0.8. I would definitely hammer it if I was using a 0.8. You could use a 1mm, but for me it's just that little bit too thick to get through the hole in most people's ears, unless you know you're happy and comfortable with that and therefore yourself. But for me, a 0.9 is ideal, especially if you've got kind of a sort of heavier earring like so. If you're doing something really delicate, you probably would go down to a 0.6, but you would really have to hammer that and work hard on that. Whereas these will stay in shape quite nicely, but you can hammer them and they'll really keep their shape. But we'll go through that as we move along. So for these, I have this mandrel. So this is just a piece of pipe. So it's just something I found around the home, and I got my husband to cut it down just so that I would have a mandrel. But thinking about this, look at it, it's a little bit like a lipstick container. So just look around your house and see what mandrels. You don't actually have to go out and buy specific mandrels. If you've got a ring mandrel, this is probably one of the wider size ring. Across here is 2 centimeters. So it's 2 centimeters diameter. You're looking for something around about that. It's going to spring out anyway, so don't worry if you're very slightly smaller or very slightly bigger. It's absolutely fine. You can work around it. But around about a 2 centimeter round mandrel. Right, we've talked about the wire that we're going to use is a 0.9. You're going to need some tools. So I've got some chain nose pliers, some side cutters, flush cutters, and I'm using my 6-step bell making pliers. If you haven't got those, you can use your round nose pliers. It's absolutely no problem. And the other thing that I've got is either use an emery board, so this is just a basic emery board, or a jewellery file, just so that the part that goes through your ear is nice and smooth. So we don't want anything sharp, we don't want anything to hurt anybody. So I'm going to move a few things out of the way and we'll get on with just how to really simply make these. Sorry, totally forgot to add those little bits of embellishment. So I've got some 3mm beads. You can use 2, you could use whatever. You could put a gemstone on there, absolutely fine, as long as it will go on your 0.9mm wire. And a little bit of your 0.4mm, which is your 26 gauge wire. So, and now I'm going to move everything out of the way and we'll get started. So I've actually cut a piece of my wire. I've probably got about 20 centimeters there. You don't have to cut yours. I'm just doing it for ease for the camera. You can work straight from your reel and waste hardly any wire whatsoever. So, but I've cut mine just for demonstration purposes. So I've got my mandrel, whatever you've found around the home, a little bottle, little jar, whatever it is. We're just going to wrap it around so it comes around 2 full times and then it'll cross around. So you've got 2 on one side and you've got 3 on the other. And then I just want you to pull that nice and tight around your mandrel and just use the warmth of your fingers just to kind of warm that up and set it in position. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything, but trust me, you really are. So you're just kind of setting that in and moulding it around. Now we can take our mandrel out. We can let it spring out a little bit and it'll just open that up that tiny bit. And you can cut all the way across the side that's got 3. So can you see on this side I've got 2. On this side where they crossed, I've got 3. So I'm just going to go all the way across with my pliers, like so. So the side that was furthest away from me was the flush cut side. So this side that's closest to me, just move those 2 pieces out of the way. I'm still holding them together so they're still the same size. The side that's closest to me, can you see that is the not flush cut? So this has got a point on. So I'm just going to take it and I've got my flush cut nearest to those and I'm just going to snip those ends off. So we've got 2 flush cut ends. So we've got our 2 little circles, almost whole circles. They will spring out and have that little gap. Don't worry about that. It's absolutely fine. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make that loop at the end. So I'm going to use the smallest part of my mandrel. So that's the tiniest one. If you're using round nose pliers, do this one at a time, make a little mark on your pliers and just go with the same place. But just think about the size of a loop you want. So I'm putting the mandrel I want to use on the inside. So it's on the inside, and I'm going to turn this towards the inside. So I'm supporting the rest of the frame, and I'm kind of pushing with my thumb a little bit. And I'm just going to bring that so it's rolled all the way around. Reposition my pliers a little bit. So I went from there to there. I'm just going to push that until it joins the edge, like so, and I'm just going to bring that out. Okay, I'm going to do the same with this side. So it doesn't matter which side you start on, so we're the same length, we know they're the same length. So I've got my pliers right in at the very tip of that wire. I'm just going to push it, roll it round, reposition my pliers and roll it round, and now I know I've got a little matching pair because I know I use the same mandrel and it's the same size. Now it's at this point, if you want to, especially if you're making to gift or sell, I would just offer them up and just give them a little hammer. So I'll just stop talking while I do this because it's a little bit noisy. It's just a tapping. I'm holding my hammer at the end of the hammer and letting the weight of the hammer come down. I know I said I'd stop talking, but I just wanted to mention that. And it's just very light. We're not flattening out the wire. We're just work hardening it just very, very slightly. And make sure your fingers are out of the way. So by work hardening, what happens is when we strike it, the molecules inside kind of move a little bit and it kind of makes it harder. That's the easiest way I can explain it without being too technical, but it just makes it just a little bit firmer. It would bend if I really squashed it, but it just makes it a little bit firmer, especially when you're popping it in and out of your ear. And the next thing we want to do is take that emery board or your jewellery file and just file and round that end a little bit, just in one direction. Just keep turning it until you've got that a nice round. It won't take very long at all, but I'm not going to do it all now, but just take your time and just pop. Just take your time, just making sure you've filed that off just so it's nice and comfortable to go into the ear. Now for the next part, I'm just going to take some 0.4mm 26 gauge wire, and I'm just going to pop a little wrap on there just after the bead. So I'm just adding my bead on, so I'm just going to add it on just right from the end, put that on. Now the other thing I need to mention is when you open this, that bead will drop down, so just be careful when you are adding things. And then I'm just going to pop my wire in between. It doesn't matter where I wrap on here, so just go with what's easiest. We can utilise that little gap at the bottom, and you can put as little or as many as you want. I've forgotten to count these, so we'll guess for the other one. So we'll just go for about so many. So 6 or 7 wraps is absolutely fine. And flush cut them nice and close. Nice and close. And then you just want to push those. It'll be nice and tight, which is what we want. Stop the bead coming off. Push it right down, and then you're just going to take your chain nose pliers and just make sure the very end, that bit that you just snipped off, is nice and squished in at both ends. Pushing it all the way down. Just take a little bit of time over this. So the more time you take over this, the more likely it's going to stay in position. So that's one done. Let's just grab the other one. Just adds that little bit of extra detail without it sort of adds a little bit of it being fancy without it being too OTT, if you know what I mean. It's just that nice little professional details, a little bit like when you buy pre-made findings, which are absolutely fine. absolutely fine. No worries about pre-made findings at all. But they usually have that little bit of a coil and that little bit of a bead on it, and it just makes it look just that little bit more finished. So why not make your own like that? So that's good. I like it when it feels nice and tight as it comes down. That's good. It's going to stay in position. And again, just nibble in those ends, push down. So now those are all ready to be added to your design, all nicely finished. And then you'll be able to add it by just opening and closing that loop. I'll just show you this one that I'm part prepared. This will be coming in an upcoming video. So that is exactly how I make those beautiful kind of almost a full loop earring. You can add lots of different things on there. The options are limitless. So I hope you've enjoyed making those with me today, and I hope you will take a look at my other videos. Don't forget to subscribe. I have new videos almost every week, if not more than one a week, and I hope to see you again really soon. Take care.